Get in, loser. We're going monster balling.
What is Monster Ballin, you might ask? Well, we are historic. We play a deck with 30 creatures and 8 other spells. We have a mana curve of everything 4 or more. And somehow we're managing to run it with only 23 lands and get a decent number of wins here. So you'll have to see what's going on. How do we do it? Well, we're based around Monstrous Vortex. So whenever you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, discover X, where X is that spell's mana value, which means you get to reveal cards from the top of your library until you find a spell that has 5 or X or less. Usually most of our cards will be 5 casting cost in this deck, so we're going to cast one creature that's going to loop into another. Now, of course, cards that creatures with power 5 or greater typically have high mana values, but we're going to do our best to cheat on that. So we're going to start with things like Overlord of the Flood Pits, where we can impend for 3 mana. We've got the Spineless Paladin, which isn't necessarily the greatest card, but it's nice that we can plot it for 4. Gains 3 life when it comes into play, but also we can plot it for 4. When we have the Vortex, we can cast it at a later turn for 0. It still has a mana value of 5, so it still looks for cards that have 5 or less mana value. Same thing with the Overlord of the Hauntwoods. We can get that Everywhere token, ramp ourselves, and also start our combo. Wistfulness and Deceit, you probably both know both of these, but both of these can be evoked and give us immediate value and help get us going on our combo. So these can be really cheap to cast as well. And the other card that really belongs here is probably my all-star of the deck, Fungal Colossus. This is a 5/5, as you can see, for 7 mana, but it costs X less to cast, where X is the number of differently named lands we control. You play a wide variety of other lands, of different lands, so that we can try to have that. In order to get those lands, we've got a lot of large creatures that have high mana value costs, but can be cycled. So we've got the Daggermaw Megalodon and the Ice Flan, who can both island cycle. We do have Lorien revealed for island cycling as well. It's the only thing I could find that had had a cost of only 1 to cycle, and also got us an island. But for the most part, I found that Lorien sometimes interrupts our combo, but it does also give us that 3 cards that can be really helpful later in the game. So I find it's probably worth it more than it's not. Apart from that, we've also got the Troll of Khazad-dûm. I'm sure you guys have seen this guy before. And the Generous Ant, all from the Lord of the Rings. Really cheap to cycle. That means we've got to have a lot of basic types, which we do, and we'll get into that when we cover our mana base. For early interaction, we've got Damnation, which we want to pay 4 mana and get rid of the opponent's board. This is also really fun because we can frequently vortex. If we start by vortexing out, say, a 5-cost card, then we might get another 5-cost, another 5-cost, and then eventually we'll discover a Damnation, which means we can cast that, blow up the board, and then we can, from there, just start casting our own creatures. We've also got Infestation, which is an alchemy card, another creature with power 5 or greater. It has Wither. It creates a Blowfly Infestation and then puts a 1/1 counter on each creature. Blowfly Infestation says that whenever a creature dies, if it had a -1/-1 counter on it, then we put a -1/-1 counter on target creature, which means that if Infestation comes out on a wide board, it will give the 1 to all the creatures. It will then kill off anything with 1 toughness. We can start putting counters on anything that had 2 toughness, etc., etc. It can become a really good chain against wide boards. It's very similar to like a Massacre Girl effect. You can also evoke this out for 3 mana and 3 life, which also means that because it gives itself a -1/-1 counter on it, it then can also start the chain earlier. It's actually really efficient removal for 3 mana and 3 life. Emeritus of Woe is a 5-power creature with 4 casting cost that also comes prepared with Demonic Tutor. It's really great when we get 6 mana. You can put that down, We can fetch what we need, usually fetching either the Fungal Colossus or the Monstrous Vortex, because those are kind of our primary two things to get set. But either way, just having the ability to tutor is really helpful. I really like the Emeritus in that if you have 6 mana, you can get it down, and then you can cast the tutor right away before the opponent has the opportunity to interact with your creature. Blooming Cactus Folk, another great alchemy card. At the beginning of your end step, non-land cards in your hand perpetually gain this spell costs 1 less to cast. It's also a 5/5, so it triggers Monstrous Vortex, and it has a mana value of 5. And Cunning Azure Scale. This is honestly been one of my favorite alchemy cards. In case you can't tell, I really like alchemy. I really like the digital-only mechanics. But its Omen side says secretly choose not land or non-land, and then you can seek a card of the chosen kind. That's an instant. So during our opponent's turn, we can go get a card, and we also don't need to reveal to our opponent what kind we got. We either choose to get a land or a non-land, and they don't know about what kind we got. And then it also has Flash, which I have yet to use in this deck, and I think maybe in the future I'm going to try to use it more often. But we can cast it for 6. When it enters, we can again secretly choose land or non-land, and we can seek 2 cards of the chosen kind, which you'll see in the games kind of comes in handy. Find it really useful for fetching out things like my Emrakul. Once the deck is nearly empty of spells that can be cast off of Monstrous Vortex. I put Emrakul and also Ulamog in there because they can both recycle our deck. They help us with mill decks, keep recycling our graveyard back into our library when time they go in there. But we all end up with a ton of cards in hand. Because if we're not casting something off a Discover, it ends up in our hand. So between that and Lorien Revealed and Cunning Azure Scale, we end up with tons and tons of cards in hand that we may not want to, that we won't be able to cast. So it's nice to be able to throw away all of those high value spells with one of our Eldrazi, and then get everything back into our deck so we can start the whole process over again. So this deck really doesn't seem to care about what the opponent does. As long as they don't remove that Monstrous Vortex, we're going to really bash them up. One of the things that we found in early testing that was getting removed was our stuff was getting removed via enchantments. So Silverback Elder is a 5 mana creature with a 5 power. It also triggers off of every creature cast. Every time we cast a creature spell, Discover is technically casting. So every single time we get a Discover spell, Discover into a new creature spell, we can trigger this. We can destroy an artifact or enchantment. Look at the top 5 cards of our library and put a land from among them into play tapped, or we can gain 4 life. We've got Crabomination because Crabomination is just fun. Target opponent exiles the top card of their library, a card at random from their graveyard, a card at random from their hand, and we can cast any of them for no mana cost. Vaultborn Tyrant, we almost never get down, but it's great. Survives the board wipe, draws us cards, gains us life. It's really fun with Prototype X8 out, which also costs less for each creature card in our graveyard. And you might think, well, that's not really the greatest, but you got to remember we are playing a bunch of evoke creatures, and we're also playing a lot of forest cycling and land cycling creatures. So we can fairly quickly get 4 creatures into our graveyard on our own without the opponent helping us out. And then when we do, we've got a creature that has a mana value of 10, is an 8/8 for 2, but that mana value of 10 means that we can trigger our Monstrous Vortex. Ulamog is it's an Ulamog. It's an Eldrazi. It's a big Eldrazi. It's good. Has a cast trigger, which is probably our best way of getting rid of Planeswalkers, because we don't really have a whole lot of way to deal with those, but it's useful. And it has a mana value of 11, which means the only thing we can cast to get it going is Ghalta. Ghalta, the only thing we typically cast with it. Ghalta has a mana value of 12, but costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures we control. Well, since all of our creatures in this deck have a power of 5 or less, or 5 or greater, We only need 2 creatures in play to make Galta cost 2 green mana, and then trigger almost everything in our deck except for Emrakul. So, our mana base, we are in Sultai, we are green, blue, black. We've got, we want to have those basic land types as much as we can in our mana base, so we're playing our Surveil lands. We've got 1 of each of our appropriately colored Surveil lands. We're playing 2 of our Zagoth Triomes. We've got 2 each of our Shock lands in the colors, Breeding Pool, Overgrown Tomb, and Watery Grave. We've got 1 World Tree, which is why we've only got 1 forest. We've got 2 swamps, 2 islands, and then we've got 2 each of each of our verges, because they all get activated by any of our 2 or 3 color lands. So I think it's a pretty solid mana base, and let's go with Ballin and see what we get. All right, game 1 up here against Pewee 2. Okay. Not a great hand. We'll mulligan this one. We're gonna keep this one. We'll hopefully can get into what we need by well, we'll see what we can do. And there's our Vortex on top. Perfect. We've got Damnation. Hopefully we can hit that on 4, but even if we can't, we've got Infestation on 3. Opponent scries. Play the Triome. Okay, now we can pull out Infestation if we start seeing a wide number of small creatures. Loam Speaker, not the greatest, but we did pull Deceit, so let's play that. We can evoke that out, and we can return that Loam Speaker back to the opponent's hand, and just put them off curve. See what the opponent does. My guess is that they replay the creature we just got rid of. Now here we're just hoping for 1 land. There it is. So put the land down, get the Vortex down. Our Fungal Colossus is down to 3. If we can pull another land, we have the possibility of playing Infestation as well as Fungal Colossus next turn, which means we might very easily pop off. Ooh, Doubling Season. Alright, well, we're going to play Fungal Colossus. And Fungal Colossus gets us another Monstrous Vortex. Now, one of the fun things here that I didn't realize, I think, when I was playing the game, is that Doubling Season would actually double up on all of the Infestation -1/-1 counters. They play Bosri Cat. Get the emblem right away, so they're going to get they're going to get a creature and put counters on it every single upkeep, and put counters on every creature they have. So there we go. They make 2 creatures, they become 3 3s. Kind of ugly for us. So we're going to cast the Infestation. We'll play out Wistfulness just to get another couple triggers. We get 2 triggers each time here because we've got 2 Monstrous Vortexes. Spawn with Paladin. And you know what? Well, Damnation. No, we're going to put that in hand, actually. Damnation, put it in hand. And there's our Silverback Elder. So that's going to resolve. I'm going to cast that Infestation. And we'll put the Emeritus of Woe on the field. And we're casting that Damnation. And the third Monstrous Vortex, we're going to put that in hand. I usually only play 3 of them. You usually don't want too many of them. Can't resist the Cactus Folk. It's going to make all of our other stuff good. We'll quickly destroy that Doubling Season off the Silverback trigger. Cast Lorien Revealed. Draw 3 cards. Now look at that. What did we spend? 5 mana this turn. We cast 8 spells. We drew a bunch of cards. We are going to ramp here. Man, we're at the Overlord of the Hauntwoods. As you can see, we've almost emptied our deck out of cards that cost 5 or less. There we go. We have officially done that with the Silverback Elder here. So we're going to have a lot of empty triggers coming up here. Opponent just Doom Scars. Hard to argue with that. We've established a pretty wide board, and they've got their emblem. All right, so we're gonna go here. We're gonna cast the Mayor's Woe. We've got nothing to cast off it because we know we have nothing 4 or 5. So we'll pass that once. Pass it a second time. We will cast that Demonic Tutor. We'll go get Prototype X8. Sure. 2-mana creature because we've got so much in our graveyard. So there's 10. We'll cast our Azure Scales. There's 1. Here's an Iceland. Nice little island cycler. Stuns the opponent's creature. Taps the opponent's creature, puts a stun counter on it. Generous Ent will make us a forest cycler. Put a seat in our hand, just so we have something to cast for later. Put the Dagger Maw in hand. Yeah. Make our food. Play the Azure Scale as well. Because we really do want to just seek off those. Put the Troll in hand. Here comes the seed again. And we have got Emrakul in hand now, so that when we discard, we're going to make sure that we discard that. We're going to, which is going to cycle back all of our other creatures, all of our other cards in our graveyard back into our library. We're going to keep Galta, keep Fungal Colossus, keep Vaultborn Tyrant, keep the Overlord, keep the Carbomination, keep the Damnation around just because it only costs 3. Opponent just sat through a long turn. See what they think here. Another Doomscar. Fair enough. We have just recycled our entire deck, so we'll start with our Vaultborn Tyrant. We'll play that Damnation off it just for fun. Cast that Fungal Colossus. And from here, it's about to get ugly yet again. So at this time, probably going to cast almost everything. Well, except for the Monstrous Vortex. We'll just keep casting, keep creating triggers. And the opponent definitely seen enough. Fair enough to them.
Victory!
Decent hand, we'll keep this one. We've got our Surveils. We've got our Wistfulness. We'll be able to cast that for 2, as well as the Flood Pits for 3 off the colors we have. So we could hopefully start cycling into the cards we need. We've only got 1 black right now, which concerns me a little, but we'll evoke out that Wistfulness. Probably get rid of one of the Damnations because we're unlikely to need 2. There's a Fungal Colossus. Okay, we're going to get rid of one of those instead. Until we have those lands, that's irrelevant. So we really are going to need a land drop here. Opponent playing the Optimus Scavenger looks like the typical standard enchantment deck, except for the fact that that's not normally an Esper, so I'm wondering what's going on here. Alright, we'll impend this out, see what we get. Another Fungal Colossus and another land. Okay, well at least now we can cast our damnations. The opponent's not really building a wide board, so I'm not super concerned about it. I think we got some time. When they unlock this door, you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Okay. Definitely a build of enchantments that I have not seen before. We'll get that green down. We'll cast that Fungal Colossus, just because I have a feeling that they're going to play something like Sheltered by Ghosts to get rid of it and just get things out of their hand. Plus, now it's a blocker. Bottomless Pool. Interesting. Well, that means we get to cast it again, so that's actually kind of good for us. Azure Scale's great here. I'm going to play the Cactus Folk, because I love it. Love getting all this discount on every card. Now the Azure Scale only costs 1 for its Omen side. You're going to open that door. Now when a creature attacks alone, it gets Death Touch and +1/+0 until end of turn. Which means it now trades with the Cactus Folk. We're going to let that go. I really want to get those damnations down to 1 mana each. I'm going to, what am I going to do here? I'm going to play Prototype X8. I can hold up that Azure Scale, cycle out the Ice Flant, look for a Surveil land. Hopefully we'll see what we want on top. Verge is not what we're looking for. We're really just looking for that Monstrous Vortex at this point. And hopefully we can get that with the Azure Scale. We now got the 5/3 blocker as well. Putting in the Dollmaker's Shop. This is a very odd build of rooms. Ossification. Yeah, so you had a feeling I had something like that kicking around. So they're going to take out the 8/8, give their creature a counter, force me to block. Little did I know I couldn't care less about blocking with that creature. We're going to chunk the flood bits. Didn't really care about it here. Cactus Folk has done his job as well, so he can probably die. We're just going to Damnation. And then, I'm not sure why. Oh, never mind. I did play this the way I meant to. Just seek 2 non-land. There's our Vortex. We also got a Deceit. We've got a Fungal Colossus. So we've got 6 mana right now. If we can get a 7th on the board, we can play the Monstrous Vortex and have 2 different tries at spinning the wheel, which could be really good. We could also, of course, just play Monstrous Vortex, play the Fungal Colossus. If we get that 7th, we might be able to hold up that now cheap Damnation, because that 2 mana board wipe is kind of ludicrous. There's a Watery Grave. Perfect. So we'll get down the Vortex. We get that Fungal Colossus down. We're going to play that. I'm going to actually invoke out the Deceit first. This way we can get that. I really would not have been happy if I'd gotten the Fungal Colossus. We've got the lower stuff. It's sometimes nice to clear out those smaller stuff. Return the Gremlin, because it doesn't actually put anything back in their hand. And there we go. Here's Infestation. And we're going to start getting a double Infestation. We'll get the Overlord, start getting lands, we'll get the Spineless Paladin, gain a couple of life, and into another Vortex. That is a heck of a good run with this. So off of 1 green mana, we cast 6 spells. We're going to here create the Full of Flames Manifestation and kill all the opponent's creatures. We give that one 2 more counters. At this point, if you're not careful, a lot of the time that you can end up killing your whole board, but opponent dies anyways. Amazing opening hand. We'll start with that. And that one tapped. Probably look for land with the Azure scale, but if we don't have, actually I think we have to here. Yeah, we can't guarantee that we're going to get any sort of anything else. We don't have anything that can cast for cheap, so we might have to hit 5 mana on curve. So we'll get that. Go for that land. We get our Triome, great, perfect time to drop it. That way we have 2 untapped. We can untap land on 4 and on 5 from this way, so we can get our Vortex down and then get our Silverback Elder down and start the turn. With this other Azure scale, I'm going to cast this. I think I'm going to go non-land with this one. And yep, there we go, even better. Overlord over the Hauntwoods. So we can either cast this after the Vortex or before. Opponent, it's their turn 3. They only hit us for 4. I don't really see that much. So put down the Vortex. Nothing to worry about really here. Aetherios. Well, that's interesting, but still, they're coming out. So we're going to play the Silverback Elder to try to gain some life later on. Oh, we get the Spineless Paladin, which also gains us a little life. And then we're going to get the second Vortex out. Okay, so we're set up to go really fun next turn. We drew into Galta, which means that we've got 10 mana, or 10 power on the board, so Galta costs 2. So it's hard to argue with that. They come up with a Death Touch, drop a Death Toucher. Opponent comes in with the 2 Flyers and the Indestructible. I think we're just going to take that. I could have probably blocked the Aetherios with the Silverback Elder. I didn't notice that the had 7 power, but 7 toughness, but that's alright. We'll gain some life here. Put Galta in. We're gonna, you know what? We're just gonna play the Monstrous Vortex. Let's just see what happens, because we're gonna hit big off here. This. There we go, Crabomination. We're going to just ramp. We're gonna play the Troll. That's gonna give us 3 more triggers. This is a very rare case where I do choose to do the third Vortex. Damnation. Now we're gonna put Damnation in hand. I like too much what we got on our board already. I also like having that Silverback Elder out. Emeritus of Woe. We're gonna pass on that. That's better too. I just refill the hand when we need it later. We're just gonna ramp here a bunch with the Elder. There's our Infestation. That's what I was looking for. Kind of wanted to get that down. Hopefully get enough counters on things that we can actually kill the Aetherios off as well. I did not realize when I was playing this game, though, that I did make a mistake in my logic. Wasn't realizing that a lot of this stuff is going to go. In fact, all of it's going to go as soon as Infestation lands. And that means that they lose the devotion, and now Aetherios is just, I can't target it because it's no longer a creature. I'm probably going to have to kill my own board with this, but the opponent's seen enough.
Victory!
I mean, and who can blame them? I really love this Castle Doom art. That's why I left it in on this one. It's maybe my favorite background that we've seen on Arena in a while. Decent looking hand. Azure Scale hopefully can get us what we need. Deceit can hopefully clear the way, or see what we got. We've got the Fungal Colossus, so really there's a lot of decent stuff to be said here. Probably should have slowed down and looked at and played that World Tree first before the Triome, but you know, not a big deal. But now we've got all of our colors, we've got our 4 mana, we've really got everything we need. Oh, opponent's playing Shrines. Well, let's go get into that hand. We'll look this out with a double black and we'll see. And no Shrines. Odd. Okay. Well, they got lots of removal for big creatures. I'm going to get rid of the Murderous Rider just because it's annoying. It keeps shuffling back. And opponent took a long turn here. So we was going to rip through that. Long turn of nothing. About a scry. We're waiting on them. They played the Palantir of Orthanc. I'm just going to go and get some non-lands here. Look for that. Look for something cheap. They're going to target move that. I almost always lose life on the first one, especially when I got it. That was an expensive one. That was a 7 mana creature. Fair enough to them. Another long turn from the opponent here. Anyone who hasn't played Palantir, one thing I highly recommend is when you take that first turn, always put the 2 on top. Especially if it's something you want to make sure that you've got the card you want should always be second from the top, because either the opponent's going to mill the top one off, or you're going to draw it naturally your next upkeep because you drew the top card when you gave them the choice. So I think that first one is very critical. You always, if there's one of those 2 cards you like, you put that on the second from the top on your library. And then after that, you just, do what you want. Alright, opponent has got a Castle Ardenvale. They've got a Sanctum Tranquil Light. So here we go. Now we're actually seeing more temples, or shrines rather. They're going to start creating monks every turn. We're looking a little rough here. They're also going to start drawing with the Palantir. I'm just going to they know what they want. I'm going to let them have their cards from here on out. No sense. And there's the Vortex. Wow, could that timing on that be any better? So now we've got double cast triggers. We've got the Spinewoods Paladin for 0. That's going to turn us into a second Vortex. Here we go, Fungal Colossus. Off the top. Double Vortex. We'll start with the Damnation, clear the board. Why not? We gained our life with our Paladin. We're going to get Lorien revealed. Not the greatest hit, but does reload our hand. We've got our Forest, that gives us 1 more land type. Now we can Fungal Colossus again off that for 1 mana. Now we got our Megalodon, giving us 2 more. We're going to get the Troll. We're just going to go big here. I'm looking for the Silverback. I'm going to put the Infestation in hand. I don't want to really deal with that right now. I'm going to put the Damnation in hand. Oh wait, I've got the Silverback in hand. Okay. Well, we're just going to make a board that's nice and wide. Make the opponent deal with it as best they can. Put the Emeritus in hand. Why not? All right. Well, there we go. We've got 21 power on the board, and we wipe the board off of what, 3 mana of casting? It's kind of ridiculous. So opponents making their decisions. We know they've got those 2 removal spells, so they're going to fell down the Troll because it can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. So that makes sense. They're not going to go wide this turn unless they got another Crescent Island Temple or something. They're going to kill that one with a Giant Killer, and with their last mana, I think they're going to play that Giant Killer. Use it as a chump blocker. Not sure. Well, they can have their card. I think we drew enough ourselves last turn. What do we have to start with? Let's do the Overload of Floodpits. Impend that down. We can overload the Hauntwoods. Add some lands to our board. We'll cast the Infestation, just for fun. We'll put the Monstrous Vortex in hand. And, yeah, grab another Emeritus. Put Wistfulness in hand, so that way we can evoke it, and then use it to start removing some of the stuff we don't like. Don't need Damnation, our board is better than theirs at this point. Drew 2 cards, discarding one of the Verges. Try to in this case, try to discard things that we already have. Evoke a Wistfulness for 2 green, so that we can get rid of that. I want to get rid of that Crescent Island Temple. Vortex, it comes up empty twice on, I believe, Wistfulness is 5. And There we go. Now we can attack. Opponent waits a while. Eventually takes the 8. We're going to discard 3. One of the emeritus, discard all those 4 drops. Makes sense, that's the most power on the board. Haunted Cleansing Fire would gain them some life. Okay. Let the opponent draw that card. Play a Verge. Play a Silverback Elder. Now this is going to, we knew it from last turn, so we'll just fast forward through that. Fungal Colossus. Ramp. Cast a creature off that. Now we can destroy target artifact. We'll get rid of that Sanctum so it can't tap us down. Cast that Generous Ant. Because all of our cards at this point are going to be 6 drops and 7 drops. Get rid of the Cleansing Fire. They've seen that we're going to do it, and that's enough. Alright, so I did record all these games in order. I'm showing you actually every game that I recorded with this in the order in which I recorded. That probably was a stronger hand than I should have mulliganed away, but I decided to mulligan it away. Didn't think it was as strong as a hand as I needed and ended up with a weaker one. This deck has been really great so far. We've just seen 4 games where we've absolutely slayed the opponents, but it doesn't always do everything. You know, every deck has its downside. I don't want to pretend like this is an amazing 100% win deck or at all. It is rather sensitive to things like duress. Just went and used the troll to try and get the surveil land so that we can try to control the top of the deck at this point. Do kind of wish this Deceit was a Wistfulness instead right now. So here we go. We're going to cycle away the troll again. We're going to go get our other surveil land in black. We're actually going to not play it because I want to see what the opponent's doing here with their hand. We're going to check that out with Deceit, see what they've got. And the opponent is playing Heists. Probably should have gotten rid of the Gaunty there instead of the Impetuous Leapmonger. One thing I found, because this is always a consideration when playing on the historic ladder, is that one should think about how the deck will play against Heist. And this deck is, ironically, very well suited to playing against the Heist deck, because they often, if they're playing, almost all the Heist cards are in Grixis colors. If they're playing that, there are very few of our expensive spells that can be evoked out or impended out in those colors. A lot of our stuff can only get... We're kind of done here, so we're gonna pass. Yeah, that game we just did nothing. But yes, typically the cards are too expensive, and the opponent can't cycle for lands from ours. I'm kind of hoping Emeritus and Wistfulness will get us here. Second Emeritus is really not what I want to see. Voldaren Epicure opponent's playing they're playing the Vampire deck, so this can be a lot of blood tokens and a lot of chipping away at our life total quickly. Here's Undercity Sewers. There's Deceit. Probably use Deceit next turn, especially since we got 2 blacks up. Okay, so now they've got the Vampire Lord. They're hitting us for 6. We're down to 12. We're going to invoke out Wistfulness. I'm going to try to hit the board wipe. Nope. Evoking out the Infestation would be alright as well. So we just need to see either of our board wipes here. Vampire the Dire Moon. Odd that they played that before combat, but either way, we're down to 4. So even the Dire Moon, and that's just nothing. So yeah, our hand just does nothing. We get beat down by small creatures. It's our turn 4. Alright, well, see what we can do with this last one. You know what? This isn't the greatest hand, but we do have that Infestation. We've got the Cunning Assure scale. We can try and get into a land if we don't see one to get our black if we really need to remove early threats. But we do have a Fungal Colossus. Emrakul is doing nothing in our hand. Really, all it's ever there for is to be discarded. But you know, it is what it is. It's also made it really good against mill decks. Great. Now we've got the Monstrous Vortex. As long as we get that land with the Assure scale, so I think we're definitely going to go grab that during the opponent's turn. Perhaps play 2 multiversal passages, 1 on white, 1 on black. We're going to go get a land card. Undercity Sewers is perfect. It gives us that black. Lets us surveil. We've got Damnation on top. We might as well leave that there. We also drew into an impending card, which is fantastic. So if we Monstrous Vortex, we can cast off that. So we've got lots of options now. Ferdok Core. Sure, opponent's not really going to do much of anything, so we're going to pay 2 life, put out that Vortex, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try to, I think, Overlord next turn, and pen that. See if I can't draw another land, because if I can, Silver Quill. Okay, then we're just going to cast the Fungal Colossus. We're going to get the other Vortex, which means I think I'll cycle this Ent, get myself a land. It'll probably be a Surveil, because I don't have any reason to cast anything for 1 off here. Abomination, hard to argue with that. But yeah, we've got lots. We can cast our full price creatures if we want. Opponent cast Petrified Hamlet. I mean, sure, they can. The only card they can choose Watery Grave. But we've got lots of colors, lots of all of our colors. We've got. I guess we're only. Oh yeah, we only have 1 black at this point. So they did take us off double black for Infestation, but I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. And they get lost the creature. Interesting choice. I feel like if people knew better about this deck, they would never target the creature over the Vortex. And Johnny's gonna make Kithkin? Yeah, okay. So they're gonna have now they've got creatures so they can casualty them with their other guy. Okay, so we're gonna pen this out. We're gonna make the Overlord. We're gonna cast Wistfulness. We're going to put that Emeritus in hand. Like I said, we almost always put that in hand. We'll get out that Silverback Elder. Let's cast the Damnation. So, this is also really fun. We get to wipe the opponent's board. Wow, why not? Why not cast Lorien Reveal, draw 3 cards for free. There's a Fungal Colossus. I don't see any reason to board wipe again. Make our land. Put Damnation in hand. Draw 2, discard 1. I don't know why would I discard. I guess I do have to discard at the end of my turn, so I can do that again. So let's Fungal Colossus this time. Now I get Silverback Elder. We'll destroy that Ferdok Core. And I feel like the opponent might have seen enough here. I'm not sure. Anyways, yeah, so from a fairly weak-looking hand, we kind of went to giant board state in 2 turns with not a whole heck of a lot of mana cost. Fungal Colossus, that's going to give us 2 discovered triggers for 7. Let's put some lands on the board. Let's cast a Seed. Let's just keep ramping here for a while. Now, I'm going to ramp probably up to 10 mana here. Put the Azure Scale out. We'll get 2 more cards off that. 1 more land. I don't like how the interface always asks me when I have to play it tapped. Anyways, if I want to pay life for it, that's grayed out. Okay, so I'm just going to start putting stuff in my hand here. See 2 non-lands. Yeah, I'm just going to really care about the rest of this at this point. I've got everything I need on board. I'm just going to put everything else in hand. And we're just going to go and see what happens. Keep these ones. Keep 1 Damnation. Keep an Emeritus, because it's always fun to be able to search up some. Oh, keep Corroboration. I don't know what I would cast so there's. Discard both of our Eldrazi's, recycle our library. So now we can do this whole thing over again. We can Damnation the whole board and then pop off once again next turn. It's kind of the ridiculous thing about this deck. And the opponent, not sure what they're going to do here. Don't know if they know what they're going to do here. I mean, we do have, what, 30, 40 power on board? I don't know that there's a whole lot they can do. Well, anyways, this has been Monster Ballin. We're almost hitting the end of the video. I appreciate anyone who's watched this. I don't appreciate anyone. Oh, they're going to hit the end on Wistfulness. Well, we do only play like 1 copy of most cards, so there's not a whole lot other than the Fungal Colossus. There's only 1 copy to exile. They look through the whole deck. They've seen what's coming. They're going to make their Kithkin, and we're just going to swing out and not get a chance. All right, well, hopefully I'll see you sooner than later. Thanks for watching.